This is Shakur TV. We're here with our family and our elders, and we're going to be talking to everyone about what we're doing to continue on the legacy.
All right, free the land, y'all. All right, as we told y'all, we're going to be back at y'all with some updates as we, proceed, and keep stepping, keep stepping in the name of liberation and revolution, so we representing for Shakur TV, everybody been seeing what we've been doing, so let's get it rocking. What's popping, what's rocking, what's cracking, what's happening. I'm Stoneheart Illuminati, aka General Shakur Shamata, in full effect. Right here, I got my father, I have my uncle right here. And today, our elders, of what a lot of people have become known to call the Shakur family, Shakur tribe, Shakura, but yeah, we're a family. We're a family and families of revolutionary and freedom fighters that been getting it on and rocking and doing this work, forever since. So anyway, the updates on, we did one update for the Thug Mansion. So everybody's been waiting on that, and I know everybody wanted it to happen in June. We did too. So we already said what's good with that. We wanted to avoid all the commercial nonsense. So we're gonna do it more in a family way and raise his spirit vibration and give power to Pac's spirit on the day that he was assassinated. So, and then we'll carry on and give more life to the martyrs, martyrs of our movement, and those who have done work and been martyred while doing that work. But also don't want to get stuck on that, because in the past we know that's a big thing. People get stuck on the dying, and people who did that. So we're going to commemorate their souls by doing the work, because there's people who the work is still needs to be done, but and there's people out here doing it. There's people who've been out here doing it, and we're going to be out here doing it. So that's what we want to shed the light on, is what's being done. What is the continued work that the movement is being done? As some say Panthers, and some say the ex-Panthers, or that movement stopped back in the 60s, and the different movements of the 60s have stopped, and all this kind of thing. And it's all kind of terminology going around, So anyway, we the ones that ain't never stopped. We the freedom fighters, so join in with us and let's kick it. So first, so we're gonna talk about the People's Police. So as you can see, I got a badge on. So, no, I'm not no pig, so everybody knows, I am a revolutionary. I am not the pig, I am the People's Police. But that's what we say. So our thing is, basically is to commemorate this whole thing, is that as people have heard me say before, this idea comes straight out of growing up in the movement, influence from, of course, the original Black Panther Party, in which we are all part of, Panther Tribe, that influence from Imam Jamil, bringing Islam into our movement, into different communities, being a part of that community, and seeing that work being done, real vice-germ work being done, and real protecting the community being done. And so from various factions that that was around doing that work, saying everybody knows the Panthers wasn't the only ones doing community patrol, but that's what I come out of. And it's one of the more famously known, more blanket known Panther patrols and different things. So we affectionately call it this Panther Patrol, and the Panther Patrol is the first unit that we're going to have, is the community unit. So overall, it's the People's Police, because we are the People's Police. We're the police that's for the people. We're not here to police the people, and the way our enemies, the de facto police have done. And they are de facto because these are commercial entities that work for the commercial industry called the United States of America Incorporated Corporation.
I'll put it back. I'm gonna put it back. I'm gonna get it. Hold on.
I'm just gonna.
Excuse the interruption. But anyway, we in the house with real family. This is how we, family walk around doing things. So, yeah. Anyway, to get back on track, this is what we're doing. So, the work of the People's Police is just being real people. You know what I'm saying? Not a corporate entity. So we're really, you know what I'm saying, we're building an entity that will be really there for the people, as far as, you know, the work that we need done in the community with what's going on in our community, gangs, not just gangs, because a lot of people throw a lot of the issues on gangs. Gangs ain't the problem per se. It's the decadence that's in our community. The low-natured niggerisms, as some of us call them, the low-natured behavior, you know, the rape, the violence, the devaluing of our women and our family structure. You know, our children are being totally neglected, molested, and all these disgusting things that we were never about. And so we don't have any law enforcement that's ever been a part of the so-called America and government that everybody's leaning on that has ever cared about that situation. Matter of fact, they're the very ones who have brought this on to us. And so we need a buffer in between the de facto program that has been pushed onto us through oppression, and also something that can deal with us in a way that's harmonious to human beings as we solve our own problems. So that's what we're here to do. You know what I'm saying? And so we're here. We ain't going nowhere. We don't need nobody's permission, so we're not locked into none of that. We are the indigenous of the land, you know, the earth, and we pulling right and calling law. So in short, that's what we're doing. You know, any questions you already know, you can leave your questions and all that, inbox and all that. This will be an ongoing thing. We bring this to the people. That's why it's called the People's Police. So we'll be having the People's Commission. We'll be doing this with Tahaka Bay. What's up? With Rock and Mo. We know you're out there. And all the, you know, all our, everybody that's out there, the freedom fighters, all the Indians, all the Africans, everybody who's rocking with us. Everybody stop arguing about who you is and let's get together. All of us who are freedom fighters and know we want to get rid of the problem of oppression on this land and all the lands, let's get together and free the land. So that's, you know, I'm going to leave it off and let the elders speak, you know. Free the land on that note, you know what I'm saying? So we got,
Free the land.
Yeah, free the land.
Okay, my name is Bilal Sunni Ali, and I want to say assalamu alaikum to everybody and to all the listeners. Don't know who all the listeners are, but glad to know that we have a listenership here. We have a listenership that is based coming out of here, and that people are interested in having the work continue. We say, before I say anything further, I would say I seek refuge in Allah against misleading and being misled. I seek refuge in Allah against betrayal and being betrayed into ignorance by others. And I ask Allah to guide my heart and guide my tongue as to everything that I want to say. And I pray that what I say will be of benefit to those listening. Those listening to now and those listening later on, listening on an archive form of this file. Whenever you listen to it, that we pray that that we're bringing clarity, and we're bringing primarily clarity and some benefit in bringing that clarity.
Truth and facts.
One of the things that I want to say right off that we're very proud of seeing the work, and very happy of seeing the work continue of us controlling our own neighborhood, of us being the force that makes the decisions in our neighborhoods and that control the streets at night in our neighborhoods. It's a strong call to call people to, and we always knew that even before when I was growing up, like when I was a teenager, they would describe us as juvenile delinquents, those people who are always on the wrong side of the de facto law, you know. And a lot of times we would be bringing law and order to our own community. and it would be the de facto police in the uniforms. Like especially in DC, they must got about 21 different types of police, or people that say they police and coming at you all the time asking you what you're doing. If you're in the park or you're in that side of the park, but they don't bring no peace to the community. And so we want to say that we're a part and seeing something that continues to be part of our ongoing movement for liberation, that brings peace to the community, and that brings it brings peace to the community, and it brings answers, solutions to the reason why often the reason why people call the police. They call the de facto. They'll go down 911 because they figure there'll be some type of relief coming from that. And we need to know that we, as liberation organizations, as family organizations, as community organizations, that we have an apparatus that you can call on if you have a person that's in distress. You know, because they might have a certain medical condition, a certain mental condition, and so you wouldn't dial 911 for that. You know, in Atlanta they got a number to dial, and we need to develop something nationally where people could dial. But we need to develop on the local level, knowing that the community knows, well, we can call on this brother here, and we can call on that brother there, or we can call on this particular organization. Right. And that organization would have within it the means to adhere to whatever crisis is being presented, or whatever facet of unsafety, any element making the community unsafe is being presented. Right. Whether that, and oftentimes, most oftentimes, that doesn't take firepower to resolve. Right. And the 911 cats, they always bring firepower. And so we want to commend those efforts that train people in firearms and the use of firearms, because when you get trained on the proper use of the firearms, you know how not to properly use it and when to properly not use it. So we say that the firearms training is a big part of community safety. And so we need to, so like I said when I started, we're very happy to see that the work continues, and that it's broadening beyond, the work that we did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or 40 years ago. And one thing I know that my brother Dr. Kokai is gonna talk about is gonna talk about. So I'm not gonna mention too long, but I have to mention that a big part of the bringing peace to the community is bringing health to the community, and we have what is called liberation medicine. And liberation medicine is taught through the use of people learning the acupressure points, the meridian points that deal with the flow of energy into different organs, and that science can be taught, and it's important that it be taught. It's very important that it be taught because it can help bring about changes in the people we rescue. It can bring about changes in the people who are part of the rescue teams. So there's so many other ways to talk about it, but that's things that I wanted to say first, to let people know that we're proud to see it continue, and proud and happy that it is continuing. And the thing that we developed years ago that we're very happy to see continue is this aspect of liberation medicine. Right.
And right before my uncle speaks, I gotta commemorate. This is our family's birthday because
Yes,
of
Pop birthday, represent everybody.
Rag on, you know what I'm saying?
That's right. All eyes on me.
All eyes is on the family.
Living life
all
as
the time.
thug.
You know, so, you know what I'm saying? Hey, get it right.
That's right,
Get it not
represent.
in full effect. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We can send freedom.
Core TV.
Also, just to break it down, a lot of people don't know. Because a lot of people are questioning, oh, Tupac, we heard Tupac refer to himself as a Native American, and he's not Native American, black. Hey, cut all that crap out, man. We all do your history, and you'll understand that they started calling the Native Americans black and Negro and all that. And there was a lot of people up in the bunch. We're not going to go into all of that right now, the whole, oh, we black African and all that other stuff. Okay, look, the science of this is the same science of the feather. You'll see it on the statue of Tupac, or what I call Tupac in his last lifetime. Because if you look at the picture, it's the exact same person. So, you know, these represent the feathers. That's why if you look at our community,
right.
you often saw the women wearing these because our system is based around the matriarch. That's why a lot of times you see the women wearing it, or the chiefs wearing it this way. The traditional warriors we used to wear out around. You all know that. But that's a way, when they took us away from the way we traditionally dressed, we just dress in certain styles that mimic our traditional way of dress. So I just wanted to bring that to attention. This is one of the real reasons that, you know, yes, Tupac did understand that science behind the reason why he was his rag that way. It wasn't that he was trying to be a thug or anything like that. You know, we can get deeper into that, you know, our family's involvement in the code of the thug life, and, you know, how some of our families involved in what, you know, some people have, so what we have calling the thug life around. But anyway, back to the lecture at hand. You know what I'm saying? They're saying back to, you're saying the big unk right here and the work we've been doing. So you're saying, like my father said, the ongoing work on how we fit into all that in. You know what I'm saying? And so it didn't start or stop with Tupac. We want to let everybody know that. You know what I'm saying? This is an ongoing work that we've been doing, family work, comrades work, people all across the world. You know what I'm saying? We ain't the only ones doing this work. You know what I'm saying? So, but we just sticking up for ourselves and the work that's being done by our family and those who are doing it with us. And so, yeah. So back to this, the health and protection. Because we don't have health and protection, and we were talking about this earlier. The main thing, some of the main ingredients to help our community. You know, like my father just said, the de facto government is not here to help because none of these needs are being met. Our neighborhoods are full of sick people. When I was on duty in Florida, when I was introduced to People's Police to the people, there was a lot of accidents around. And the police, I noticed the police wouldn't come for an hour or two. So I had to get out there and do my thing. And so this is how people became to know me as the People's Police, because I put myself out there and I would do stuff that my uncle would and my mother would teach me about acupuncture. I didn't always have the needles, but I had to calm these people down in that moment. Sometimes you had babies in the car, people, you know what I'm saying, going through the things. And a lot of times my uncle would flash into my mind like, oh, you gotta do this, do that, you know, and the protocol. So this is a protocol that we have established and that are establishing that is a great protocol, and my Uncle Kokai is about to get into that.
Thank you, nephew. First, let me thank my nephew for continuing to work. Let me thank you for, you know, being that light up on the hill, shining. You know, he said, oh, that's the way to go. So let me thank you for that. You know, your love for the people, because I know that the only way we could put up with, the only way we could deal with the oppression and all the other stuff is if we love our people. You know, and Fred Hampton spoke about that. He said, you gotta love the people, man.
Yeah.
You gotta love the people so much, you know, that your love, you know, can overcome, you know, any of the results of your work with oppression on yourself. You know,
Right.
Panthers talked about you gotta be an oxen for the people. You gotta carry the burden of the people. And to be an oxen, you carry more than your weight. You know, you got to carry the burden of the people. That means you carry all their sorrows, their hurts, their pains, the hundreds of years of, you know, oppression. So I want to thank you for continuing to do that work. Now, my nephew talked about, yes sir, my best, you know, and I learned a lot from my big brother here about it. But, you know, you talked about updating that this is what this project, you know, and you and your family and your community and your team putting this together, you know, it's great work, great work. Let me give what I would consider the necessary update, because when we talk about update, we're talking about refreshing information, giving new information, and broadening the perspective, correcting mistaken ideas, you know, promoting and supporting, you know, ideas, making people aware of what's going on. All of those things are going on. In order to do that, we got to give a little historical perspective so that people will clearly understand the importance of liberation medicine. That when we talk about pills and injections and surgery and so forth, that's a form of medicine. But when we talk about liberation medicine, we're talking about dealing with the effects of oppression and racism on our people. And when we do that, we have to look at the spiritual, the mental, the physical, and the environmental, communal issues. At 71 years old, I'm glad to have been around to see when there was not any juvenile diabetes. There were no 5 and 6 and 7 year olds injecting insulin, and they have to leave the class in elementary school as I'm doing lectures, and the young kid has to, where you going? I have to go shoot my insulin. He's 8 years old. So I can remember where there was no juvenile diabetes in our community, but now with the surge of, you know, all of the processed foods and sugary products and, you know, those things, and mainly our community being dumbfounded and miseducated, and not spirited enough or proactive enough to get the information about a better way to deal with these consequences that we've suffered as a result of oppression. So when we deal with the gang violence in the street, the drug addiction in the street, you mentioned the rape and the terror that's being brought on our babies, on our children by these grown men. Some family members, mostly family members, we're finding out that these things are happening. These things cannot be allowed to go on in our community. You know, so we have to deal with that. No longer, we got to do something about these things. So these conditions, as we deal with liberation medicine, we have to consider all of those things. We have to consider the last 3 to 5 decades of the onslaught of drugs from the 60s with heroin, rolling into crack cocaine, rolling into PCP, rolling into Molly's and K2 and alcohol, all of these things going on at one time, ecstasy, and now we have fentanyl. Prior to fentanyl, we were averaging 20, maybe 30,000 ODs across the country. Last year alone, we had over 100,000 overdoses on fentanyl.
Wow.
So you know we're going to top that this
That's
year.
crazy.
That's just fentanyl, family.
That is crazy.
Now, this again is generational, because the young people that are out there shooting the guns, remember, these are the children of the children of the children of the children. Go back to the 68 with heroin, then cocaine and so forth, and these families just... But what children, what families are we talking about? We sure not talking about the rich community. We sure not talking about the upper class community, or even the upper middle class, even though it filters in there. But we know the primary problem of drugs is in the poor community. It's in the disadvantaged community, Kofi. You know, these are the things that when we address the issues of, let's say, miseducation, you know, a young person doesn't want to go to school, we have to talk to them about trauma. Where does that come at? I just told you where it came in at. Generational. That in most cases, this young man doesn't have a daddy. I know in the communities I grew up in. You know, in most cases, you know, the young lady is not informed about parenting. Doesn't understand health, doesn't understand nutrition for children and that whole growth process that's going on, because it's not taught. The last few decades, the misinformation that's been going on in our community to misdirect our people has been intensified in the last 20, 30 years with all of the dumb, stupid, crazy programs on TV. You know, these true life series of these
Yeah.
housewives from
Right, yeah.
Bunker Hill
Housewives
Housewives and this
yeah.
housewife and Bachelor this and and then all of
More
the
sex,
silly
money, and murder.
sitcoms that are on. They have people in the background laughing because the jokes ain't even funny. So they make you all think that it's funny.
Yeah.
So again, they have mastered this concept.
Right.
As I remember watching TV back in the late 50s, early 60s, and these things were not there. They were not projected. So the social scientists, the people who sit around, family, they sit around, Kofi, all day long.
Yeah.
And they figure out
That's their
how
job, yeah.
they can make things, and I'm going to say it like this, worse for us.
Yep.
You see? So when we talk about the strategy of pouring guns in the community, which was the same strategy that was going on in the early 60s when I found my first pistol on the schoolyard, and my cousin found one the next week on the playground. These guns are always planted in our community. I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
You see? So now where all these guns coming from? We don't have gun factories. We don't make them. We ain't got gun stores. They are responsible for all of these things. And as you talked about the police, they have to police those environments, police those communities. As my Bible stated, they don't come in with peace. They come in, packing. They come in to enforce policy. Police enforce policy.
Exactly.
That's what they are. They enforce the policy.
They're not enforcing our policy.
Right. They enforce the policy, and that policy changes.
Right.
It changes, but it stays the same.
Right.
In terms of the underlying factors. So my point in terms of updating the community, what you all have to understand is that the mental health, the spiritual health, the emotional health, the psychological health of our people has been totally damaged. And I don't know of any black person in America and on this planet who has not been exposed to it in some way, fashion, form, or another, either visually or experienced it themselves. So I share with you all that the update has to do with what you all need to do in terms of approaching the problem that we have in the community. Just don't deal with their schooling, but you have to deal with their mental health too. Not just the mental health, the physical health too. Young ladies need to know reproductive health. Right. Young men need to know reproductive health. They have no idea of what it is because the mothers did not take the time to study that because they have professionals, GYNs, who can tell them everything that they need to know. And that information, again, is based on that system, that lets them compromise the health so that we can continue to deal with it. So step up your perspective, family, about the condition of black people and know that anytime we deal with any individual that's black, that we have to talk to them about their spirituality, their mental health, their physical health, and then we have to look at their community, all the things that are around them socially, as well as the environmental factors, radiation, water, so forth and so on.
Right.
So let's update that and let's be inclusive. Going back, the Panthers. We talked about liberating black people, but we had to feed them too. We talked about liberating black people, we had to clothe them too. We talked about liberating black people, but we had to make sure that they had the legal support that they needed to go to court to keep their homes as they were being moved out of their homes, etc. So it's the same thing. So let's go back, not go back, let's continue, the correct strategies. Let's tweak them a little bit, let's update a little bit, but let's continue those same strategies that we know work.
Right on with that.
And just want to add, while we're talking about health and talking about the Panther Party, we want to talk about the fact that the Black Panther Party had health clinics, had health committees within the Black Panther structure. We had committees to deal with health, to do research about the health in the community, and to establish clinics to deal with solving the problems that we found. And that's a work that needs to continue. And along with that, we talk about the fact that seeing the work being continued is a victory on our part, because the counterintelligence program, you can read it in the notes, all the counterintelligence program, that they wanted as one of their major objectives that we would have no effect on the next generation.
Ricky, finish.
Because it would have no effect on the next generation. And we can see, and we're happy to see, and say that we can see our next generation are doing things in all of these avenues that we've named of healing ourselves and maintaining ourselves. That we can see we have young people that are involved in that and that are pushing that to the next generation. So
Right.
it's, as we see younger people, we know that even younger people will be part of solving the problem and resolving those issues in our community.
Right on. Yeah. So, yeah, and even on that note, because it goes on and on. So I want to add to that while we talking about that work with the Panthers to pick up where we both just left off. You know, when we're talking about the issues, we have to realize it's every part of what we're facing, whether it's chemical warfare, you know what I'm saying, the imbalance of what we're taught in school about our physical bodies and the breakdown of our family structure. All of that is a part of the same war. We have to stop telling ourselves that there's something else going on. This is war. Everything that they do is a strategy of war against us. If you know, you can do the chronological, science on it, and we'll even do a show on that. The chronological order. We can show. All you have to do is just study everything they do. Everything they have done since they got here is a reaction to what we have done. Everything we're doing, even we don't realize that we're doing something. They're looking at us, studying us, and studying a reaction to it that will keep us in the box. Now going back to the elder Panthers, in the original Panther Party, the real Panther Party, because there's only Panther Party, you got a lot of fakers out here, so we got some other things. It's the reason why we say the real Panther Party and stuff like that. So anyway, it was clinic, like my father just said. It was real work being done, and it was to actually bring to the people, not just a bunch of talk. Not get together on the weekends and say Black Power, and fuck white people, and fuck the pig. That's not, that's not how y'all raised us, right? I don't remember doing that. So yeah, and even the work of the Panthers, and even the people and the other people who was putting the pressure on as a response to what the Panthers brought with the feed breakfast programs. They wasn't even feeding nobody until that point. They wasn't even doing that. They wasn't feeding nobody in schools. They wasn't doing the health in school, none of that stuff. All that was a response to what the Panthers brought, and other factors of the movement process. These are things that people have to understand. Just like what's going on with Imam Jamil and law enforcement, which brings me back to back to the work that we've always been about this work, law enforcement and health. Imam Jamil is I think he was did they give him like a badge for like an honorary sheriff?
Yeah, he was given an honorary police badge in the city of Whitehall because he was dealing. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people do know. I mean, he's a professional athlete. He just didn't have a chance. He just didn't have a chance to do it because his mind was more on solving the social problems of the people. So that's what he concentrated on as a youth. But if he had just gone to school, he would have been just like some of his close friends, Tommy Edwards, John Carlos, who were all spectacular athletes, and they were all tight cut buddies. And so, he would have been this. So when he did work in the community, the police department gave him that badge in Whitehall so that he could do his work unharassed and unencumbered, but do it as an officer of the law of the city of Whitehall. That he was doing this work.
Right, and being known for solving problems and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Right? But from a young age, 'cause I grew up, in the community of the West End, under Abday, I tell you, Mount Mill. I've talked to his brother, since several times, so I've heard stories about how from young, known with that
And
nature,
human.
with that nature, and so being groomed by such a mind, and these minds have a very similar mind, but that's what it's all about. It's just about the love, as we said before. But let the love groom you to understand and open your mind. I think a lot of us are getting caught up on debating frivolous points of debate, or you can leave the debate to some people who want to do that. But everybody, that's not the face of how movement works, and that's not the face of what everybody should be doing. The issues and the solutions is what's on the table. And, if you ain't dealing with that, then you should just get out of the way. Do all the corny debating, in the back. And the only thing worthy of debate is something that's going to push us further anyway. So with that, we don't want to, just a few things I do want to touch on, just to bring out, in terms of people using our identity, like the Marines will call it stolen valor. If you wouldn't put on a Marine uniform, and you usually can tell a fake Marine because he'll have the patch on the wrong side. He might have, it's turned with the degrees and all these things are off because you ain't no real, you ain't been through the degrees. And so for those of y'all who think that the Panthers is just a blast of the past, just like we just spoke about Whitehall, maybe my father can get into that. Some of y'all don't, before it was called a Panther Party, it was a tribe, the Jaguar tribe. And we allowed it to be called Panther as well, which is why if you look at military notes, you will see Panther units throughout it, but anyway, the whole thing going back to Whitehall and a lot of the organizations taking leadership from the South, this thing it's a big connection way before it became a LA thing, a New York thing, or this big city thing. It's more than what people's been led, and we have to go back to the root and the sources, because a lot of people's interpretation of what we do and what the Panthers were and many other groups is solely based on the newspapers and the movies that's been presented. And so that's part of a lot of people have asked me to talk, because I talk to a lot of young people. Being who I am, I try to bring understanding and bridge a lot of gaps with what's going on, because there's a lot of fake Panthers out here. So bringing it back to the whole stolen valor and faking, making mockery, and flat out COINTELPRO, because this is what they were doing. This did not just start doing this time. They were doing this during our elders' generation with fake Panther groups or fake other groups impersonating, and we all know what it's for. It's to make us overall look stupid, and it's to break us up from truly organizing, And so, like all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So with that, one point we was making the other day, somebody was talking about, it was a young sister, I believe it was a newbie, we were talking about how the Panthers dress and how people, how they've made mockery of things with TV. So I'm going to ask my elders a question. Like, to my knowledge, like the Panthers in general didn't always walk around in military uniforms, right? So like
No.
these BDUs,
Yeah.
and,
No, as a matter of fact,
everybody wore black Tim and
Our
and
uniform-
black
That's what she
and
was
leather
asking.
jacket.
our uniform was it black pants or blue jeans.
Like
And a
slacks
blue
and
shirt.
jeans, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a military uniform
Right,
at all.
it's a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, because these new, these new groups be walking around with the military fatigues on.
Yeah,
Right.
That's
Like
when
the Army
claim
and the
fame
Navy
as
and
though we
stuff.
New Generation Panthers, groups like
Right.
Black Liberation Riders, and,
Uh-huh.
and they try to put Black
Black
Liberation
Riders.
and Panther in their name because they know that name sticks out to the people.
Right.
It's in our soul because this is the home of the Panthers. Everybody
Yeah.
knows this is the true land of Wakanda, what they call Wakanda and all that. The Panther, the Jaguar tribe, synonymous with the leopard tribes of Africa.
Exactly.
You know, if you don't know that, study it. You know,
No, they're
but
tripping.
yeah, that's the thing. They're going around, you know, with the military facade. You know, whereas from what I know back in the day, when my grandfather, also I didn't say that in the American Security Force, Elijah Day Balola is one of the other reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing and gave direct training to this, is they were security. And so their outfit and the way they regiment, everything was security. You know, to more military, they dealt with the military factions. So that was that. And, you know,
Yeah. But even that,
and even that, it was based
even
on
that,
the people.
the basic uniform
Political
of
experience.
the New African Security Forceman was the same as the basic uniform of
Right.
Black Panther.
Right.
It was
Right.
blue
That's what I
jeans,
remember.
blue
Yeah.
jeans, denim shirt,
Right.
and shoes or combat boots
Right.
often, but you
Yeah.
know, jungle combat boots in the summertime,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and it wasn't, you know, it was never
It's big.
army fatigues.
Right.
It was
So
never
maybe
like,
something
you know,
military, but
Right.
more for the people, to show that you were with the people.
Right.
That you were.
You wore that
for
same
people's
thing
protection.
because that was uniform enough without being a uniform that said
Right.
New African Security Force
Right.
or
Right.
a uniform that said Black Panther Party.
Yeah.
You know. So it was. So that was it. We never. We never put forward the concept that I see going around,
Right.
and they push it in movies too.
Right,
Of a
right.
bunch of dudes coming in
Right.
army fatigues,
Right.
you know, or in
Right.
camouflage fatigue. But that was never. I don't remember any community organization that dealt with community force.
Yeah, they did.
Because even those who were veterans,
Mhm.
like in Boston, they had a group called the Mau Mau, which was
Yeah, I remember
mostly
that.
veterans,
Mau
but they walked around in regular clothes.
Yeah,
They walked
yeah.
in the regular clothes of the people. They didn't even because they were part of the U.S. military.
Mm.
They didn't dress in their military uniforms. I mean,
Right. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember that.
right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, it was the reason, so anybody who wasn't catching up, the reason why I brought that out is just that, it should speak for itself, what we just said, because that's what I remember. It was a conversation about that. And I know they lead people wrong with psychological imagery, and then with words, when people talk about us and make reference to us, we feel endeared. We feel like, yeah, that's about us. And so we cling to it. Just like that's how we started being called black in the first place, and a few other things. You know what I'm saying? But the whole thing is that, those who wish to learn about this work, come to the source, come to where it's really from. Don't go to none of these fake groups
For real.
that don't have no root in the source. They haven't been sanctioned by any of our elders.
No.
I'm not, saying, for those of you who thought I was just talking out of my face, I'm right here with my elders. If I was talking about it, these guys would tell me to shut up, for real. And they're the only guys on this planet that can. So, there's a few other cats out there. Very
True facts.
Right.
True facts.
But we put it in perspective, you know what I'm saying? Because this is real. This is our life. So I ain't, shit. This is real. This is our life. We put our life into this. We have, so we're not, to get this work done. So what you can do is, as the people, we ask you to study, train, so you can get to the work. Any way you get to the work, is go to the people that's been doing the work. Verify the people that's been doing the work. Do not allow the people to come up to you, because this is an ongoing COINTEL operation. And even going deeper than before we started, before the name COINTEL Pro became coined. This goes into the overthrow of the indigenous here. You're saying by the Huguenots and various European corporations. The British, the Spanish, the so and so on, and these different Moors who came here, in the past, in these Masonic orders. Not that all Masonic orders are bad, because they didn't, it just got taught to bad people and used in a bad way. And so that is why I'm using that term is whatever, because everybody like to talk about the Masonic and all that stuff. Y'all are scared of every damn thing they say, Illuminati or whatever. We kill Illuminati around these parts. But it's you said we're getting rid of everything that is trying to pollute our earth, and that's what that means. You know, we're not against illuminations, and we said we're against anyone who pretending to be coming in sheep's clothing and really a wolf. And so this is what this is about, because right now it's a big ongoing takeover scheme of different movements. Republican New African being one of them, saturated with these different agents coming around from the New Black Panther Party and these different agents who saturate themselves in organizations to cause rifts and arguments, and they hold up meetings and you know, and while all that's going on, no work is being done. And so I know a lot of everybody's going through these things. These are things that our elders went through. These are things that we should have under wraps by now. But like we say, these masterminds have mastered a way to capture the minds of people and get in there. But this is way beyond this, as I just said, and I'll bring it to a close. Is the understanding of the ongoing war and how it's playing out. It's playing out with families. You have whole families, these Huguenot families, and I ended up with going into what a lot of people know we've been talking about with claiming our, you know, nationality and our kinship. Everybody's been knowing what's going on or following the back and forth with this man that's going around calling himself Chief Warhorse, you know, and a few of their cohorts have made some disrespectful remarks about our family. And my wife at the time I got back with at them, they cleared it up and they got just more disrespectful about it, which caused us to, you know, look more into them. And I wouldn't be saying this if it didn't tie in. So first off, you know, the throne that's being claimed by this Ishi is not their family's throne. It is the Kusha throne of the Choctaw. And this is a person operating under named Joseph, Pierre Joseph. Everybody don't know, who was a Huguenot person who tried to steal and tell everybody he was a chief back in the time when they was murdering the Choctaw chiefs. Back in the time when they had other Huguenots had married into the Choctaw. The Folsom family being one of them. So being that the Folsom family had marriage into our family, at that time, just the four bloods were murdered. The chieftaincy would pass to them. So when they came back on the scene, they noticed that this guy was lying to people and saying he was the chief. They kicked him out. And so this person called Chief Warhorse is now has people thinking he's a woman in the matriarch of our family royal
ancestry. Yeah.
In fact, it's not. So my tie into this, it's synonymous with COINTELPRO. These are the same organizations that created COINTELPRO in your government, in your so-called law enforcement, in your churches, in your hospitals and stuff like that. And so we need you to understand this because it ties into the gangs, it ties into the black on black crime. These other people who were black who came to this land that look kind of like us. It's the same thing going on in the place that they call Africa. You know, they had these people, these Huguenots from the northern area of Africa, from which they named the whole continent, and from European, these conquistadors who were some Caucasians and some dark. They look like us, similar enough to us, and they blended in. And they even married their way in, some of them. And some of them kept their families intact. And this is why you see certain families are allowed to do certain things. And very skillfully they cause rifts in our community. and why they're able to come up and we're pushing other families down. You know? So we don't want to go too deep, but we got to, had to go a little bit deep enough, so to make you want to look a little deep. So we're going to be putting notes out. We'll be putting sources out.
Yeah.
Because we don't ever want to say a lot of things, and you can't go right to the source or some sources to prove it, and at least expand your horizons even more on the subject.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So we'll put out we'll put out scholars, because I'm not a scholar. I'm a freedom fighter. I'm a chief. You know, I'm a warrior, priest chief. In our tradition, that's the term or the type of chief that I am. So I'm standing in my lane, but we have a lot of good scholars that's really doing the work out there and connecting the dots and not being liberal with it and not being emotional with it either.
Yeah.
We have to figure our true story out, and it's not about isolating each other. It's not about we against the people across the water that have been called Africans, and I say have been called Africans because we know most of our people there don't call themselves Africans in their traditional tongues, and understand that if you got most people my uncle's age and my father's age, and you say Africa to them, they won't know what you're talking about. Because that's not something they grew up calling themselves or anybody on that continent grew up calling it. Outside of the northern Moors and people from England who started the concept of Afrikaners, the same Afrikaners who took over South Africa. You can look that up. So we're all in the same fight. You know what your spirit is, and you know what you're for. So those of us who want liberation of this land, who want peace, unity, love, and justice, you're saying, to be a part of our everyday life and experience, then you're saying this is what we stand for, and we stand with you, and we hope you stand with us in that. And that's what this is about. No matter what shade you is and all that. Or what part of the water you're from. Every part of the water and every land, we all know about the law. You have to control your own, territory. You have to say so ultimate, say so in law in your territory, whether you're on what they call Africa or whether you're on Tamari, or what we call in America over here. So with that, man, free the land. We don't want to go get long-winded. We revolutionaries can get long-winded. I get this from my elder. Here we go.
Before we close out, just want to make sure that people have a resource to go to in terms of further research into things that we're talking about. So one of the websites that I definitely want to give for people to come and visit us is the Imam Jamil Action Network, and that website is www.imamjamilactionnetwork.org. www.imamjamilactionnetwork.org. And we have we're in coalition with other political prisoners and their advocacy groups. We have the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, which has been successful in getting all of the Black Panther political prisoners and other movement political prisoners who are locked up in the state of New York released. And we announced that with pride, and we want to announce that to the people so that the people can know, and you who are political prisoners and your families know that this organization, the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, has done this work in conjunction with Jericho, and that they are now working with us in conjunction with IJAN and also the Committee to Free Kamal Siddiqui, and that we're working to free all the political prisoners. So it's the Imam Jamil Action Network for Imam Jamil Alameen, Kamal Siddiqui, Rochelle McGee, Dr. Matulu Shakur, who's already been released since last December, and Mumia Abu Jamal, who hasn't been released yet. And we're those are some of the political prisoners that are still locked down, including also Kenny Whitmore and Ed Poindexter, we don't want to leave nobody out, but you know,
Yeah.
we always
y'all
leave
young
people
ones.
out.
Yeah,
Kwame
I'm sure.
Shakur, all the young up and coming ones.
Right.
Up and coming ones.
Yeah, and that we have
The up and coming young
political
Lives
Shakurs.
matter,
Yeah.
you know.
And so that's
Yeah.
it's very important that you go to that website so you can get information. And also,
Go ahead.
in terms of liberation medicine, that you go to the website BANA,
Mm.
BAAANA.com.
Right. People's Police.
www.baana.com, and you can see what liberation medicine is. And you can get a lot of the writings of Dr. Matuda Shakur, who I just mentioned, has recently been released, and you can get the writings and to get the true story of the ongoing fight against drugs, and now against drugs in its many forms in the